Have you ever stopped to think about the power of the sun? Not just as the star that warms and illuminates our planet, but as a profound symbol of divine creation. Since ancient times, the sun has been seen as a manifestation of God's strength, a reflection of the energy that sustains all life. And now, in 2025, we are living in a unique moment in human history, where solar eruptions are more intense than ever. But what does this mean for us, the chosen ones of God? Do these cosmic events have a greater purpose, a spiritual calling that we cannot ignore? Solar eruptions, besides being fascinating scientific phenomena, carry a profound impact on the Earth's magnetic field, and more importantly, on our spiritual lives. For those who are in tune with the divine, these bursts of energy are not just astronomical events, but clear signs that something greater is happening. It's as if God Himself is calling us to awaken, to align ourselves with the purpose He has for each of us. And if you are here, watching this video, it is because you feel that call. You know deep in your heart that there is something special reserved for you in this historic moment. Recently, NASA's Parker Solar Probe achieved an extraordinary feat. It became the closest human-made object to the sun in history. This scientific milestone is also a powerful spiritual metaphor. Just as humanity dared to approach the sun, we, the chosen ones, are called to draw closer to the divine light, to allow ourselves to be shaped and transformed by the spiritual fire of God. This is a time of purification, of preparation, of becoming instruments of divine will in a world that desperately needs light. Before we continue to explore this important theme, I want to ask something special of you. If this message is touching your heart, if you feel that you are part of this calling, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. This helps us continue bringing content that strengthens your faith and illuminates your path. Now let's dive deeper into this theme together and understand what God is revealing to us through the solar eruptions of 2025. The sun has always been much more than just a star in the sky. It is the source of light and heat that sustains life on Earth. But for those with spiritual eyes, it is also a reflection of divine strength. The sun reminds us every day that there is something greater guiding and sustaining all of creation. It is like a symbol of God's energy, a visible manifestation of the power that illuminates and gives purpose to everything that exists. And now, in 2025, with solar eruptions at high activity, this symbol becomes even more powerful. It is not just a physical phenomenon, but a spiritual call, an invitation for those who feel God's touch in their lives. These changes that you may be feeling, whether emotional, physical, or spiritual, are not coincidences. They are part of a process of purification and alignment. God is working in you, shaping you, preparing you for the role He has reserved. And just as the sun goes through moments of explosion and renewal, we are also called to go through this process. It is a time to leave behind everything that prevents us from growing, everything that distances us from the divine purpose. It is a time to align ourselves with God's will, to connect more deeply with Him. Perhaps you have noticed that lately your emotions are more intense, or that your body is reacting in different ways, with fatigue or even renewed energy. Perhaps you have felt a greater desire to seek God, to understand what He wants for your life. All of this is part of this calling. Solar eruptions are like a spiritual fire, a process of refinement. And although this process may be challenging, it is necessary. Just as gold is purified by fire, we are also purified by the experiences that God allows in our lives. He is preparing us to be instruments of His will, to be light in a world that desperately needs hope. Are humans really prepared to reach the sun? This is a question that echoes not only in the field of science, but also in the realm of spirituality. Because you see, the sun is not just a ball of fire in the sky. It is a powerful symbol, a reflection of divine strength, of the creative energy that sustains everything that exists. And just as humanity dared to approach the sun with the Parker probe, we, as individuals, are called to draw closer to the divine light. But are we ready for that? Are we prepared to let ourselves be shaped and transformed by that light? Think about the sun for a moment. It is immense, powerful, uncontrollable. Its energy is so intense that, even millions of kilometers away, we feel its warmth every day. It warms, illuminates, gives life. But it can also burn, destroy, transform. Approaching the sun requires courage, preparation, and above all, humility. Because the sun cannot be tamed. It is what it is, a force of nature that reminds us of our smallness in the face of the universe. The same is true for divine light. Approaching God, His will, His purpose, is an act of courage. It is an act that requires us to leave behind our pride, our certainties, our comfort zones. Because God's light not only illuminates, it also reveals, purifies, transforms. And this is where the spiritual metaphor of this scientific achievement comes in. Just as the Parker probe needed to be designed with extreme care to withstand the heat and radiation of the sun, we also need to prepare ourselves to approach God. It is not something that happens automatically or without effort. It is a process that requires us to let ourselves be shaped, to allow God to work in our lives, to purify us, to transform us. And let's be honest, this is not always easy. Because to be shaped, we need to go through the fire. We need to face challenges, difficulties, moments of pain. But it is in this process that we become stronger, wiser, more aligned with divine purpose. Now, returning to the question, are humans prepared to reach the sun? Perhaps the answer is not yet. Because, although we have made incredible advances in science and technology, we still have much to learn about humility, about respect, about our place in the universe. Often, we act as if we are the owners of the world, as if we could control everything, as if there were no limits to what we can do. But the sun reminds us that there are greater forces than us, forces that we cannot control, only admire and respect. The same is true for God. He is greater than anything we can imagine. His light is brighter, more powerful, more transformative than anything we can comprehend. And to draw closer to that light, we need to be willing to surrender, to recognize that we are not self-sufficient, that we need Him. The Parker probe is an example of this. To get so close to the sun, it needed to be protected by a special thermal shield capable of withstanding extreme temperatures. Without that shield, it would have been destroyed. And we, as human beings, also need protection to approach God. But unlike the probe, our protection does not come from something we can build with our own hands. It comes from God's grace, from His love, from His mercy. It is He who protects us, who guides us, who prepares us to withstand the intensity of His light. Have you ever gone through moments when you felt you were being tested? Perhaps you faced challenges that seemed greater than you could bear. Perhaps you wondered why certain things were happening in your life. These moments, no matter how difficult they are not in vain. They are part of a greater plan, a process of purification. Just as gold is refined by fire to become purer and more valuable, we too are refined by the experiences that God allows in our lives. He is preparing us, shaping us, strengthening us, so that we can fulfill the purpose He has for each of us. And it is important to remember that this process is not easy. The spiritual fire of God can be intense. It can lead us to confront our weaknesses, our fears, our limitations. But it is in this confrontation that we find the opportunity to grow. It is in this moment that we are called to trust in God, to surrender to His will, to allow Him to transform us. Because in the end, the fire does not destroy us. It purifies us. It makes us stronger, wiser, more aligned with divine purpose. Solar eruptions, with all their strength and intensity, remind us of this. They are a reflection of God's transformative power. Just as these bursts of energy affect the Earth's magnetic field, God's spiritual fire affects our heart, our mind, our soul. It shakes us, awakens us, calls us to step out of our comfort zone. And although this may be uncomfortable, it is exactly what we need to grow. Because spiritual growth does not happen in comfort. It happens in the fire, in the challenge, in the transformation. Perhaps you are going through such a moment right now. Perhaps you are facing difficulties that seem unbearable. Perhaps you are feeling lost, confused, directionless. If that is the case, I want you to know that you are not alone. God is with you. He is using this moment to work in your life, to shape you, to prepare you for something greater. And although you may not understand it now, trust that there is a purpose in all of this. Trust that God is in control, that He knows what He is doing, that He is using the fire to refine you. And remember, God's spiritual fire is not a punishment. It is a gift. It is an opportunity for us to become stronger, wiser, more connected with divine purpose. It is a chance to leave behind everything that prevents us from growing, everything that distances us from God. Because just as the sun transforms everything it touches, God also transforms us. He purifies us, renews us, prepares us to be light in a world that desperately needs hope. Think about this. The difficulties you face today are like the fire of the sun. They may seem intense, even unbearable, but they are working in your favor. They are shaping you, strengthening you, preparing you for what is to come. And just as the sun shines more brightly after an eruption, you too will shine more brightly after going through this process. You will be stronger, wiser, more aligned with God's purpose. And that is exactly what God wants for you. He wants you to shine. He wants you to be light in a world that is often shrouded in darkness. He wants you to be a reflection of His love, His grace, His hope. And for that, He is working in you. He is using spiritual fire to purify you, to shape you, to prepare you for the role He has reserved for you. So if you are going through a difficult moment, do not give up. Do not lose hope. Remember that God is with you, that He is working in your life, that He is using the fire to refine you. And above all, remember that you are not alone. There are millions of chosen ones around the world, all going through this process of transformation. And together, we can be a powerful force, a light that illuminates the way for others. God is calling us to be spiritual leaders, to help others find peace amid chaos. He is inviting us to spread His message of love, grace, and hope. And for that, we need to be willing to go through the fire. We need to be willing to allow God to work in our lives, to shape us, to transform us. Because in the end, the fire does not destroy us. It purifies us. It makes us stronger, wiser, more aligned with divine purpose. And just as the sun warms and transforms everything it touches, God is also transforming you. He is using this moment to awaken the best in you, to help you fulfill the purpose He has for your life. So trust the process. Trust in God. Allow Him to work in your life, to shape you, to transform you. Because this is the moment to align with divine purpose, to embrace God's calling with courage and faith. And remember, Just as the sun illuminates the world, you too have been called to be light. You have been called to bring warmth, hope, and love to those around you. God is in control, and He is calling you to be part of something extraordinary. The scriptures teach us that the signs in the heavens are not mere coincidences or natural phenomena without meaning. They are reminders of God's power, visible manifestations of His sovereignty and His plan for humanity. During this period of intense solar activity, with increasingly frequent and powerful solar eruptions, we are called to look to the sky with spiritual eyes. These events are not just astronomical phenomena. They carry a profound meaning, a call for God's chosen ones to align with divine purposes. This is a unique moment in history, a moment when God is calling us to awaken, to seek His presence with greater fervor, to strengthen our faith, and be attentive to the signs He sends. Each solar eruption, with all its strength and intensity, is like a spiritual touch, a reminder that God is in control. Even when the world seems chaotic, even when circumstances seem uncertain, God is guiding His children to the light. He is showing us that even amid turbulence, there is a greater plan at work, a plan that is being revealed, little by little. And just as the sun illuminates and warms the world, God's chosen ones are also called to be light. Think about it. The sun, with its powerful energy, is essential for life on Earth. It warms, illuminates, sustains. Without it, there would be no life. And in the same way, God calls us to be light for the nations, to warm and illuminate the lives of the people around us. In times of turbulence, like the ones we are living in now, the chosen ones have a special role. They are those who bring balance, who spread hope, who help others find peace amid chaos. But what does it mean to be light? Being light is not just about shining. It is about illuminating the way for others. It is being a reflection of God's love, His grace, His goodness. It is being a beacon in the darkness, a source of warmth in times of spiritual coldness. And to be light, we need to be connected to the source of light, which is God. We cannot illuminate on our own. Our light comes from Him, from our connection with Him, from our willingness to be guided by His will. Just as the Parker probe approached the sun with courage and purpose, facing the heat and intensity to achieve something extraordinary, we, the chosen ones of God, are invited to draw near to the Creator. This is a call that requires courage, faith, and a willingness to surrender to divine purpose. We are living in a decisive moment in the spiritual history of humanity, a time when God is awakening His people to be a transformative force in the world. He is calling us to rise up, to be light, to embrace the role He has entrusted to us. Cosmic events, such as solar eruptions, are much more than physical phenomena. They are signs, visible reminders that the divine plan is in action. God is showing us that there is something greater happening, something that goes beyond what our eyes can see. But to perceive this, we need to look beyond the surface. We need to see with the eyes of faith, with an open heart to what God is revealing to us. Each solar eruption, each sign in the heavens, is an invitation to connect more deeply with the Creator, to seek His presence, to hear His voice. Just as the Parker probe dared to touch the sun, we are also called to touch the heart of God. And this is not something distant or impossible. God is near, waiting for us to draw close to Him with humility and trust. He wants us to allow His light to shine through us, to be instruments of His will, to be reflections of His love in a world that desperately needs hope. This is the moment to surrender to divine purpose, to let God shape us, refine us, transform us. And just as the sun shines with intensity, illuminating and warming everything around it, God is calling us to shine as well. He is refining his chosen ones, using challenges and trials as a spiritual fire that purifies us and prepares us. This process may be difficult, it may be uncomfortable, but it is necessary, because in the end, we will be like refined gold, ready to fulfill the heavenly plan with wisdom, love, and renewed strength. This is the time to rise up. This is the time to be light. God is calling you to something extraordinary, something that goes beyond yourself. He is calling you to be a transformative force, to illuminate the way for others, to spread His message of love and grace. And all you need to do is say yes. Say yes to God's call. Yes to the purpose He has for your life. Yes to the opportunity to be light in a world that desperately needs warmth and illumination. So I ask, are you ready for this call? Are you ready to draw near to the Creator, to allow Him to work in your life, to be a reflection of His light? If the answer is yes, know that God is with you every step of this journey. He is guiding you, strengthening you, shaping you for something extraordinary. Comment, I am ready for this call, and allow God to use you to transform the world with wisdom, love, and faith.